And let's take a look at that chart. Okay, this is all the same time frame. And again, you see that red line on the bottom as that 200-day moving average. And you can see how stretched it was. And you also see that 50-day moving average on the blue line. And you can see how the spot price went above and below that blue line for a while. And now it has dipped below that 200-day moving average. So some are saying that this is the reason why Bitcoin doesn't have the momentum to move up further, at least at the moment. So we can keep an eye on this, but the difference between the two or the three of them should be pretty clear, because really what we're looking at is spot gold and spot silver kind of sorta represent gold and silver. Not really, because neither one of them reflect the true fundamental value. And that's true for spot Bitcoin as well, the Bitcoin to the US dollar. The difference is it takes energy to create both of these. This energy is used up here, and the energy is held here and can be used an indefinite or amount of times, because gold is indestructible. We know the true fundamental value of this because it's based on how much of this garbage governments issue and how much of this sound money exists in the entire world. We don't really know what the value of this is yet because it's going through its test. Maybe now, we'll see. But just keep that in mind, and I just wanted to start this with a little technical lesson to reinforce what we were talking about before I left for Florida and Panama.
The broader economy is shaking under mixed signals. The U.S. government shutdown, now the longest in modern history, has intensified uncertainty. Missed paychecks are rippling through households, businesses, and lenders, leading to delayed bills, rising defaults, and pressure on social services. Even if political negotiations succeed, the economic damage builds daily, and reopening won't instantly reverse the financial strain. Food insecurity is quietly rising as key government programs stall, revealing how fragile everyday life becomes when political conflict disrupts essential services. This shutdown is more than a headline, it's a stress test exposing deep structural weaknesses throughout the economy.
I also thought that this was interesting, and I wanted to bring this up, that we have a cloudy economic outlook. Well, look, we already knew that the reportability was not great before all of those job cuts and the government shutdown, which is now in its 42nd day, the longest government shutdown in history. And let's just kind of look at where we're at with that, because the rift among Democrats puts Congress on a path to end the U.S. shutdown. They really didn't get anything that they were asking for. But you and I, well, we've had to deal with the government shutdown, and maybe it hasn't impacted you on a clear level, but there are those that it really has impacted. And I'm telling you, and I cannot reinforce this enough, food becomes the single biggest issue during these transitions. That's why I became an urban farmer. That wasn't really what I wanted to do, but knowing that food is a very big deal, and, U.S. again seeks to halt food aid. These are things that have been going on while we're getting more tax breaks for the wealthy. IRS quietly retracts limits on loopholes. The Treasury Department and the IRS, through a series of new notices and proposed regulations, are giving breaks to giant private equity firms, crypto companies, foreign real estate investors, insurance providers, and a variety of multinational.
While everyday Americans struggle with growing instability, new IRS and Treasury guidelines have quietly expanded tax loopholes for private equity firms, multinational corporations, crypto companies, and foreign real estate investors. Rules originally designed to curb corporate tax avoidance have instead been softened, echoing earlier multi-trillion-dollar tax cuts. These changes deepen corporate advantages while reducing public revenue. As government finances tighten, citizens ultimately bear the burden through weaker services and increased economic vulnerability. This widening gap underscores a hard truth. Individuals must build their own financial resilience instead of relying on shifting political promises.
Community, arguably the single most important thing that I talk about these days, and shelter. Get it done. All of this back and forth, the government shut down. Okay, now maybe it's going to be open again tomorrow, but that's just to fund the government for a couple more months. And then in January, are we facing another shutdown? And what does that do to global confidence? And the globalists, global governments, global corporations really wanting to buy our debt. That right now, look at it. And this has been true for a while, but never so true as it's been over this past, not even a year yet, right? The foundation of the global monetary system, the 10-year treasury, is going like this. If you're going to build a house, do you want to build it on a fault line like this? Or do you want to have confidence that it's on bedrock? Sound money is bedrock. Sound money is money that the governments and the central bankers cannot inflate away. And gold, particularly redeemable gold in the system, requires fiscal responsibility. So you can't have all of these giveaways in the system, because not if you have redeemable gold in there, because if you and I saw that and we didn't like it, we'd simply pull the gold out of the system and create more restrictions. So you're not going to have a $10 trillion Zimbabwe note that you can't buy anything with.
The world is nearing another major turning point in monetary history. As global confidence in U.S. treasuries declines and volatility rises, some form of reset appears unavoidable. Historically, it has taken only a small portion of the population, often around 3%, to drive major systemic change, as seen in the American Revolution. If enough people demand sound money, a gold-backed and redeemable system could re-emerge. Even a reserve model with 40% gold redemption would impose fiscal discipline and curb the unchecked creation of weak currency. As the current system stretches to its limits, public involvement may determine whether the next era is built on stability or on continued inflation.
And the dollar is that way too. So let's see what happens tomorrow. But even if the government shutdown ends tomorrow, can it really easily undo and turn back the clock? No. There's an awful lot of damage that's been done over these last 42 days. Even if these people get their back pay, I mean, it is a trickle-down effect. If people weren't getting paid and they couldn't pay their bills, that means you've got more defaults, more late payments. It's a problem that impacts everybody, whether you see it directly or you feel it indirectly.